So you're saving for your child's education in a registered education savings plan, an RESP. That's fantastic. But you absolutely need to hear this. We're about to unpack some pretty complex and honestly, potentially costly tax rules that you might not even know exist.
And yeah, that's a serious question. Is your RESP a tax time bomb? Because hidden inside all those rules are some nasty traps that can turn your careful savings into a massive tax headache. You could think you're doing everything right, but just one wrong move could have some pretty big financial consequences.
But hey, don't worry. The whole point here isn't to scare you. It's to arm you with knowledge. We are going to break down exactly what these tax traps are, and more importantly, give you the clear, actionable steps you need to protect that investment in your child's future. Okay, let's dive right in. This entire issue really boils down to two types of investments that the Canada Revenue Agency, or CRA, flags as being a problem in an RSP. They are prohibited investments and non-qualified investments. Now, they might sound similar, but believe me, understanding the difference is absolutely critical. First up, let's talk about prohibited investments. You know, the easiest way to think about this one is as a self-dealing rule. It's basically designed to stop you from using the tax-sheltered status of the RSP to give an advantage to a business you're already closely connected to. It's not about what the investment is, but your relationship to it. That's the key. And then we have non-qualified investments. This one is, thankfully, a lot more straightforward. The Income Tax Act has a very specific list of what you can hold in an RESP. You know, the usual stuff like stocks, bonds, mutual funds. A non-qualified investment is simply anything that's not on that approved list. Think things like land or precious metals.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting: how the penalties are different. For a prohibited investment, you get personally taxed on its value and on any money it makes. For a non-qualified investment, you still get taxed on its value, but any earnings are taxed inside the RSP account itself. And here is the really crucial part, the tiebreaker. If an investment somehow manages to be both, the CRA treats it as a prohibited investment, which, you guessed it, carries the harsher penalty.
So what actually happens if you make one of these mistakes? Well, the financial consequences are serious, and when you see them, it becomes crystal clear why you need to be so careful.
The first hit is a big one. The second your RSSP acquires one of these improper investments, it triggers an immediate tax of 50% of its fair market value. Let me just repeat that. That's not 50% of the profit. It's 50% of the entire value. So a $10,000 mistake instantly creates a $5,000 tax bill. Ouch.
And believe it or not, it gets worse, especially for those prohibited investments. On top of that 50% tax, there is a 100% advantage tax on any income or capital gains that investment generates. That's right, 100%. The government effectively claws back every single dollar of profit. So who gets stuck with this bill? Well, the responsibility falls squarely on you, the subscriber. And if there are multiple subscribers, say 2 parents, you are jointly on the hook for the entire amount. And you can't just wait for the CRA to find out. You actually have to self-report and pay the tax using a specific form, the RC339.
Okay, I know, that all sounds pretty terrifying, but please don't panic. If you've made an honest mistake, there is an escape route. These rules are really designed to penalize intentional abuse, not to trap well-meaning parents. So let's look at how you can fix it.
The good news is that the 50% tax can actually be refunded. The key, though, is that you have to act quickly and you have to follow the correct procedure. You can't just ignore it and hope it all goes away. This timeline shows that window of opportunity perfectly. So let's say you buy the improper investment sometime in year 1. That's when the tax is technically due. But you have until the end of the next calendar year, so the end of year 2 on this chart, to get rid of that investment. If you do that, you can apply for a full refund of that 50% tax. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. This quote from the CRA is critical. A refund is completely off the table if they believe you knew or even should have known that you were breaking the rules. To put it plainly, saying, "I didn't know" is not a guaranteed defense, which makes being super careful before you invest absolutely essential.
So how do you get your money back? The process is actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, get rid of the investment. Step 2, send a written request to the CRA along with that RC339 tax form. And step 3, make sure you include all the paperwork showing the purchase and sale details to prove you acted within the deadline.
But what happens if you miss that refund window, or the whole situation is just a bit more complicated? What if you can prove it was just a reasonable, honest error? Well, there's a path for that too. You can ask the CRA for relief through either a waiver or a cancellation, and the only real difference here is timing. A waiver happens before the CRA has officially assessed the tax. A cancellation happens after you've already been charged. In either case, you need to write to the CRA and explain, in detail, why the tax should be forgiven. All right, let's wrap this all up by making it super clear what your role is versus the role of your financial institution, the promoter, as they're called, that holds the RSSP. This chart makes it really simple. The number one takeaway here is that the ultimate responsibility is yours. You are the one who has to avoid these investments and pay any resulting taxes. The promoter, so your bank or investment firm, their duty is to act with prudent care and to let you know if they spot a problem.
And that notification, that's not just a courtesy. It's a legal requirement. If your RSP held a non-qualified investment at any point during the year, your provider must inform you in writing before March of the following year. This is a critical safety net, so make sure you keep an eye out for that letter.
So we'll end with this question. Your child's future is on the line. Do you know exactly what's in your RESP? An RESP is such a powerful tool, but that power comes with responsibility. So maybe take a few minutes this week to review your holdings. And if you're not 100% sure about something, just ask your financial advisor. After all, when it comes to your child's education, it really pays to be certain.